What's going on, guys? Today's a good day. Finally, some new parts for my car. It's been a minute, right? I've kind of been not neglecting, but kind of been like, about my car, right? We got the wife's car over there. We've got Frank's car up there. So I've always been just kind of like, I'll get to it when I get to it. But it's time for my car to get some new parts. So it's been a minute since I've really modified my car. The car's great, gives me no issues, no problems, so on and so forth. So it owes me nothing. There's nothing else I could ask of this car. But there's one last eyesore, and this is it. So my intake manifold has been on here. It's been powder coated. It actually is very, very nice. And it's worked for me. I got a nice radiant fuel rail in it. I always loved how I had the blow-off valve off the actual throttle there, and I thought it looked really clean, simple, and it's been effective. Never let me down, never caused me a problem, and it just works, right? But it's time for a little bit of a change. And this is that change. Finally going to a bigger intake manifold, something that looks a little bit better. Do I need this? Absolutely not, but does it look a lot better? Heck yes, it does. So I wanted to lay out everything that comes in the kit here, guys. So it comes, these are for the stands for the actual fuel rail itself. It uses these pre-molded O-rings, which I like. So most of the other, even the expensive ones, use like a regular O-ring. You got to work in there. This uses a pretty thick O-ring and then has these little, as you can see here, nubs on it to hold it in. So you don't even need to use grease like the other ones do to hold them in. Comes with every bolt, every gasket. Comes with everything you need, even a block off for the idle air control valve if needed. Comes with little bolts to get it on. It actually comes with even the vacuum tubes if needed. It also comes with two -6 outlets. Now it is a -8 rail, so it accepts a -8 orb, so you can put -8 fittings in it, just a little FYI. And then it comes with a little bung for the middle rail if you don't use a center return. So the rail itself here has a center return, but it comes with a little block off if you want to block it off, which I will be, or it comes with this little -6 return because return, you don't need a lot coming out of it. Again, that's pretty much everything with that. Now, what comes with the rest of it, right? What's the rest come with? So you get this nice anodized fuel rail, okay? And I've got some hardware inside of it there. That's to hold the actual fuel rail onto the intake manifold. And then it comes with this beautiful billet. It is 90 millimeters, and it comes with the Toyota TPS mount on it. Now, if you can, I mean, I might try this in this video, you can actually fit on here a Ford TPS, which will then sit flat on this and it won't have this little pedestal. We'll see. After talking to Jose Valia, he prefers, no matter what, always using a Toyota TPS just to keep it as simple as possible or as reliable possible also. So we'll probably be looking at that for the most part. And then back here, we have what we're all here for, right? We have the actual intake manifold itself. I had to move it down the ground because the lighting sucked over there and my table is full because of my wife's car. So I had to move it down here. This is all anodized too. So this isn't powder coated, which traditionally anything that has any type of weld on it, you would usually powder coat, but they actually anodized all this. So this should literally never corrode, never have a problem. Anodizing is actually harder because it actually gets into the substrate of the metal itself than powder coating. Powder coating actually lays on top. Powder coating is very hard and very resilient also to fuels and everything like that. But technically, anodizing is the better way. The only problem with anodizing is if you have any type of weld, it actually gets on the substrate. So with powder coating, it'll cover up any mistakes. This will not. So if you guys get this, it's not gonna be able to hide anything or anything like that. Yeah, it's gonna show you every little defect, which I do like, because something like this, you wanna make sure you find it all. Now, one thing I wanna make sure of too, where did I get this from? MCC, Loyalty Motorsports, guys, if you wanna check them out down below here, you can hit them up either on Facebook or Instagram. And here's the biggest thing. You've probably seen this intake manifold on eBay, which you'd be correct. It is a Chinese style intake manifold, right? Typical, whatever. The difference is the gentleman that runs this company stands behind his products. If you have any, and I mean any problems, he'll take care of it. You have a throttle that fails, he'll take care of it. You got a blowout in your intake manifold, he'll take care of it. His thing is he wants to make sure he has proper customer service. He wants to make sure that you're taken care of, and he wants you to feel relaxed. You know, buying this part, you're like, I don't know if it's gonna fit, or if I'm gonna have a problem, so on and so forth. He wants to take that out completely of the equation so you don't have to worry about it. And that's what I'm here for today. I'm gonna show you guys how to install this, what modifications you might need to the body or anything of that nature, and then kind of go over how it goes on and if it fits well or if it doesn't. I'm gonna be very honest. I'm very unbiased when it comes to stuff. He knows that's how I'm going to be, so we'll see how it goes. But the first thing we gotta do is take off the old manifold. So because I'm hovering over the car and that light would literally be right in your eyes where that one is there, I'm not recording it step by step, but you know, taking this off, most of this stuff is my part, right? The biggest part is going to be installing that, but when I had to turn off the blow valve, I literally have not taken this off that intake manifold since I've installed it in 2013 or 2014. That's the original O-ring. That has never come off, ever. In that many years. Like I never had to. Like when I would take it off, I would just take it off with the intake manifold. So I got the clamps off, cut the little things I know I have to. Went ahead and removed the throttle cable, went ahead and undid all the vacuum lines, took out the oil dipstick, which I'll show you guys. We're gonna have to modify that for the intake manifold because obviously it comes over this way more. So I'll show you guys all that. But now it's time to take out these bolts here. So if you look down in here, there's bolts down under there. We got to remove those bolts and then this will come off. Again, went ahead and loosen this up because I'm not down underneath there. This pipe can stay here for now. Obviously that's going to have to be moved eventually. But let's go ahead and get the top one off. Wait, I got to undo this one here. I did not undo this one yet. There we go. I did forget that one. And this will come off, and this is so tight. Look, this is one thing I'm looking forward to. Look how tight that is. I can't even get that off until I take the intake manifold off. That was such a dumb decision on my behalf. Alright guys, so it's been a while since I've had these runners off. Now I do have to be careful, I don't want to get anything down inside of there. But what I have to do here next is start disconnecting the fuel. So the front, you can see there, okay? And then the return side there. Sorry for the light if it's too bright right now. Take these out and get this fuel wear off. There's nothing actually wrong with the fuel wear. That's actually just all just dirt. It's been a minute since I've had it off so you can clean it. One of the things is just very tight in here. So it makes it a little bit harder. It does look like it's seeping a little bit of oil there around the edges. Might want to take a look at that gasket, maybe a few other things too. So let's go ahead and start knocking this out next. All right, let's try taking this off now slowly because I don't know what might be attached, what needs to come through. Like this plug here will have to come down. Oh, there goes the fuel. What's attached still? That plug, hold on here. Come on. There we go. All right guys, so I've got the intake manifold upper and lower off now, and we've got the fuel rail from radium off. I still got the fuel pressure regulator on. I haven't taken that off yet. I've got the injector bungs that go into the actual manifold that adapt the newer injectors into it. These are FIC injectors. I think I'm gonna send them out and get them cleaned by FIC just to make sure that everything's okay. I haven't had any issues or any problems or anything, but you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. They're already out, so might as well get them checked. The only thing I'm running into right now is nothing to do with injectors, nothing to do with any of this stuff, but putting my new manifold in. You can see, got that nice tape on there, nice tape job, what's up? I'm a little concerned, a little worried right now. We'll see how this goes. I thought for sure I would have plenty of clearance against this bad boy. You know, the whole point of this is for these kind of manifolds, but it looks like it's a little tighter than I thought it was going to be in this area. So if you can see here, it's a little tight. I even took out, you can see there, I took out the studs being like, maybe it was the studs hanging me up, but I'm still hitting it. So I'm gonna try a few other things here. I can't just, you know, up and move it out of the way either. It's not easy. That's got power steering fluid in it. You kind of have to drain it to an extent. It's not easy. So I'm finding my first little small issue, and I'm gonna work into it here. And this is the kind of thing this video is supposed to do, right? What you show you what you have to do to get this thing to work. I know a lot of guys mount them in the back. I don't wanna do that. I wanna keep the factory location. That is the entire point of how this Powerhouse Racing relocation kit. So we're gonna see if this works. We're gonna try something out and let's go for it. Okay guys, so I wanted to go over a few things with you here, kind of give you guys a little update where I'm at. So I do have the manifold on. Now I'm gonna show you what I did have to do and what you didn't have to do. So far, I have not had to shim or move my fuse box. Is it close? Yes, if you can see there, it is close, but it is not touching. All right, I want to make sure that. Now, my Powerhouse Racing's tank, okay, I did have to drill a new hole and shim that back. You can see there, I had to drill a new bolt hole there. Okay, so I did have to drill a new bolt hole. Now, I did have to put a new fitting on this. I put 120 degree, remove the 90 degree fitting to bring the hose down and bring it a little bit closer underneath. It's gonna be hard to show you, but this brings it a little bit closer And again, you can see I've got the clearance there and there, even with the engine rocking and everything. I want to make sure it's not like too close. So it gives me enough room that it won't hit. Back here, there's no problem at all. I've seen people complain before in the past. I have no issues back there. Getting the manifold on, I love the fact that I can get to each and every single bolt. Decided to turn that other light off. It was actually making it worse. So each and every bolt I can get to from the top. So no need to put your hand under this manifold to work on it, okay? The only thing you have to do is just have a decent ratchet, and you can get in between each runner. And I was able to put my hands right underneath and go from the top. Like literally put my finger down. I mean, you can see my hand. I got miles of room. Unlike this factory runner, so let's go over here just to give you guys perspective. These really narrow down. So you got some spots where it's open, and then you got some spot, like how do you supposed to, country mile, spots where it's open. And of course, the parts where it's tight is where your bolt's at. So it's damn near impossible, all right, to get to it, unlike this manifold where it's much easier. So that is a great, great plus. Now, another thing I wanted to go ahead and mention, I did go ahead and I went ahead and put on those rubber gaskets. No grease, no nothing is needed to hold them in. I repeat, no grease, no nothing is needed to hold them in. I literally, the little O-rings have little nubs on them that help hold it in tight. And I mean, we were banging it around and not one fell out. But once we got it on, we pulled it back off, you know, put 2 bolts on, we pulled it back towards us and double checked it, and none of them fell off. We were amazed. I thought like, dude, we had to have crushed one or destroyed one. I thought I was gonna have to call Jason, like, dude, can you send me some more gaskets? They didn't fall off. I'm very, very impressed with those, because even like the big brands, like the Hypertune, Sleeper Design, those guys make amazing manifolds, but they still use like this green, just circular gasket, and keeping them in there is a pain. I just hate it. This is actually way better than even the big boy manifolds. I will 100% give that to this manifold. That is one thing it 100% does better than even the big name. And I'm just impressed with fit and finish. I love the black anodizing on it. So far, so good. One thing I am noticing though is underneath, okay, I can't show you here, but underneath I went ahead and put on my map sensor, my port for the port for the brake booster, and I put one for the fuel pressure regulator, but I'm missing one that I need to use for my blow-off valve. I do have one port left, it's the big port, so I'm gonna have to get one that necks down. The fitting for it was too big because I don't need a hose that barb that big. So that's the only port I'm missing. So technically I have all the ports, I just gotta get one fitting. Again, I'm surprised it came with any extra fittings. It doesn't need to. Like if you buy a big manifold, they expect you to supply all that. This comes with every bolt, every fitting, even down to AN fittings for the fuel rail. Even though I changed those out because I want to do something different, it does come with all that. So that's impressive in my eyes. As you can tell here, I'm going ahead and installing the actual fuel rail itself. So I'll flip this up. I'm putting in my Fuel Injector Clinic 1650cc injectors. They are stainless steel injector. I also have a unique setup for my fuel pressure regulator. It actually attaches to the rail itself. This is a Radium Engineering fuel pressure regulator. It attaches to the rail. The reason I like this is it's one less line I got to create. It's much simpler and cleaner. It then drops off the side, and if you can see here in the back, get here a little closer, it goes to that 90-degree fitting and then runs straight down into my E85 flex fuel sensor and then back to the tank. Very basic, very simple. What I'm doing here is putting a little oil on the O-rings to help get it on easier so they don't fall in and out or actually ruin the O-ring. I just got to do the bottom part yet and put them in. Now, I did run into one issue, and again, this is my fault. All right, let me explain what I said there. I made a mistake. So the mistake is, I'll pull this out here. It doesn't need to sit in there. Pull that up. There is a center drain here, right? No big deal, right? I'm going to use that center drain for my fuel pressure sensor. Ryan, why are you going to use that for your fuel pressure sensor? Well, my Radium Engineering, I have one of the first of their, oh my goodness, fuel pressure regulators, and it actually doesn't have a port on it for a fuel pressure regulator. And people are going to say, well, what about the ports in the back or off to the side? Those are actually after the actual gate itself, so they're seeing low pressure already, so you can't put a sensor there, and it actually says that on the Radium website. Now, they do offer one with a port now, but this is one of the very first ones they sold. There's a reason why it's green also, because they didn't even offer black at the time. That's how early I was to the game. They offer both colors now, but when I bought this, they didn't. So I have to use the center port, and I did that on my old setup. So on my old Radium here, it uses a return line from the center. Again, this is one of the very first fuel rails I made too, because everyone probably like, Ryan, mine has two. This is one of the very first fuel rails they made also that has one single -8 orb port. This uses a -6. The problem with that is this. I need to get this sensor here, okay, coming out of that port, because I need to be able to read fuel pressure, right? I could probably they make fittings that come off the side here, or off the back, I could do that. But if I got a port here, why not utilize it? Well, I had to find a dash 6 orb to go in there. And only one company I could find made it, and it was Racetronics. The only issue with that was they had a minimum order, and after it was all said and done, it came to like $26. Okay, then shipping made it $40. So $3 fitting ended up being $40. So I just bought some other stuff anyways. The Dash 8, obviously, orb I had didn't have it. It didn't work for it. So that was the only thing I'm waiting on really now. That, and I've also decided to do this. All right, my fitting came in that I was waiting for. So if you guys can see here, this is my fuel pressure sensor here, okay? So I was waiting for this little orb fitting here. It is a Dash 6 orb to 1/8 NPT fitting, okay? So I need to put my fuel pressure sensor here in the center of the rail because, like I said earlier, my Radium Engineering fuel pressure regulator doesn't have a port for it. So I could use another fitting. They make ones that come off here and you could put a fitting there. I could have absolutely done that. But you already have this port, so why not utilize it, right? And I just think it looks better this way. It's somewhere you can get to it. The wiring reaches there easily. Just personal preference, right? But I had to order this from Racetronics. It's the only company that seemed to sell this, so I had to order it from them. Should work out just fine. I've used it for years with my Radium setup. So only thing I do next is I'm gonna oil up these O-rings here, and then I'm gonna slide this into the actual manifold. So let's see how this looks when it's all bolted up. All right, so I was able to get a bracket made now too, guys. I'm just working on some things here piece by piece. If we look down here, you can see, sorry if it focuses there, you can see a little bracket on there. God, it just does not want to focus at all. All right, so guys, if we can look down in here, you can see I've got a little bracket there, right? I made that to hold on this here. So all it is a little piece of aluminum I use. So let's see if I can get it to focus here. Just a little piece of aluminum I use, nothing fancy or anything. I don't know why it keeps defocusing. It's random. I think it's just trying to hunt a ton. But all it is, I literally took a piece of aluminum that I got from Lowe's, literally put it on my vise, beat it with a hammer to a 90 degree, drilled a hole for a 12mm bolt, and then used a 10mm bolt. And that's all using all of the factory mounts. I didn't have to cut up or do anything to the actual dipstick tube. I painted it black a while ago, but all I did was that. And then where the idle air control valve is, one of the 12mm bolts that holds in the idle air control valve, I just used one of those bolts and just put the bracket there, and it's sturdy. Like, I don't have to worry about it moving or doing anything. I mean, it's in there, so that works for me. I'm quite happy with that. Working on the last couple things here. I'm trying to think of what else I really need to do. I'm trying to figure out, piping. I'm trying to figure out where I want to place a blow-off valve. I'm trying to figure out where I want to put the IAT sensor. There's a couple things I'm actually going over. I still haven't figured out which throttle cable I'm going to use yet. Most likely I'm going to use either the Toyota Land Cruiser or Locar makes one. I prefer factory because I like the factory sheathing look. I like that factory sheathing, plus it's a black manifold. I might have to do, again, I removed the actual pedestal for the TPS sensor. Now, the reason I did that is because you can use this with a factory Toyota TPS, but you can see how close it is there to the fuse box. You can shim this fuse box up and over. I've thought about doing that, but I'm trying not to. I'm thinking about using this GM 3-wire AC Delco sensor. Now, I would have to get an adapter harness. So again, I'll let you guys know in this video. I'm just talking to you guys as I work along here. Some other things I'm trying to work on here. Let's take a look here. I got my handy dandy notes here, which you guys can't see. We've got intercooler piping again. I said that. That's about it, really. I mean, there ain't much left to do. I've got most of it done, and that doesn't really have to do with the actual manifold itself. Like I said, drilling the hole and stuff, that's going to be on you guys. I'll show you guys how I do it. I probably won't be in this install video. I'll show you that. But that'll be in another video, just because, every person is going to do that differently. Not everyone's going to have this reservoir here. Obviously everyone's not going to have this Powerhouse Racing reservoir. A lot of people put the reservoir back here. Again, I didn't do that because I like this. I'm able to get my arm in here. I can get to everything still, reach everything. If I put that reservoir there, pretty much limits what I can do. This is already a dead spot, as I call it, because there's nothing really you can use there. So it works out well. The only downside I could personally see here is the fact that it is really tight to get to the TPS sensor. So, I mean, to get down from here, I really have to reach in. So, thankfully, I can put my arm here and reach up and under and grab it there. Moving this would be the key there. But again, guys, I just want to give you a little bit more update as we move along here. yeah, a little bit more ways here. I'll show you once I get the fuel rail on here, clip everything up, and we should be good. I have officially decided that I'm going to try out the GM TPS sensor. So it just gives me so much more room. That should be here in the next couple days. Here is the factory TPS wiring. So you can see here, it's usually a 4-wire setup, but you don't need that for the, I guess, these aftermarket ones. So all you can see here is ground, power, and then your blue is signal, I believe. So what I'm doing here is come over here. I have to cut off that fitting. I shouldn't say cut off. I'm just going to depin it, then cut those pins off so I don't waste any wire that I have to. I like that Jose Valle of Cosmo Motorsports makes those harnesses a little bit longer so that you have this. I remember back in the day, I was like, that looks ugly. Now I'm glad you did it. Thank you, Jose, for doing so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on this female connector here. This is a Deutsch 3-pin connector. I'm going to pin that one to this. I'm going to use some barrel crimps, which I have here, and I'm going to pin this to it. And then I'm going to make a little jumper harness. Now, the reason I'm doing this is in the future, and the reason I'm depinning that is I can use that connector in the future. If I ever want to go back to a Toyota TPS, all I would have to do is make another little mini jumper harness and just put that Toyota connector on this side and put it back, or this side here where these wires are, okay? And just plug it back into the factory TPS. And you know, these Deutsch connectors are universal. So that makes my life a lot easier. So if I do want to switch between them, I can just make little jumper harnesses and switch between them. I'm using some 20 gauge TXL wiring. The only thing I got left to do is pin the last one. So I believe here, I got notes here again. Thank you to Jose for helping me with this. Black here is my ground. Yellow is my signal, and my blue wire is my blue. It should be blue yellow on the factory one, but my blue one here is my power. So again, my black one here is my ground, my yellow, excuse me, is my signal, and my blue is my power. So all I was gonna do is pin this one, put the barrel crimp on it, and then finish putting on this one, which this goes to the GM TPS, which also uses the same one for all my AEM sensors. So since I had these, I was like, I'll go ahead and use this and go ahead and crimp it and put it on. So here's the final little harness. It's nothing special to write home about. Again, 3-pin Deutsch connector on this side, and then I forget what you call these. Are pull-through style. They come like an AEM pressure sensor. Use the same style connector or whatever for all these like GM style sensors. I really don't like these. After working with these now, I love these, but obviously the plug is what it is. I don't get to dictate that. So I just put this little bit of sheathing, and I like leaving a little bit of wire after seeing how Jose did it. I prefer leaving a little bit of extra wire. Won't hurt anything. I went ahead and depinned the factory Toyota TPS sensor. So let's go over here. I haven't cut off you can see there, the pins are still sitting there. And the reason I'm doing this is to leave myself as much wire as possible, right? If I would have cut them back further, right, from where the actual connector was, it would left me with less wire. The more wire I can have, the better. So I'm just gonna cut those exact pins off. And then what I'm gonna do is put a Deutsch connector pin on it, use a closed barrel pin, and then put that into a 3-pin connector, and I'll be good to go. And that's all I need to do. All right, so now I've got all 3 of those pinned. The one here, I stripped a little bit too much off. Made a mistake there. The sheathing should butt up right against the end of those closed barrel pins. It doesn't want to go inside the pin, you want it to butt up right against it. You only want just enough, and I accidentally stripped that one just a little bit too much there on the actual ground wire. It should be fine because it'll still go plenty enough inside the Deutsch connector, so it'll be underneath that rubber seal to keep it weatherproof. But you want to make sure, if you're doing this, to make sure you just strip off just what you need to, no more, no less. All right, guys, getting down to the last pieces of the puzzle here. So I just got my Powerhouse Racing throttle cable in. Really, really nice. You can see how it comes together here. They make this nice little billet piece here. I like how it has a little Powerhouse Racing logo on it also. Sorry there, let me get that right. Powerhouse Racing logo there and there. And here's a factory NA one, and I had to cut it. So luckily for me, I had a factory NA one. And you're gonna have to do this no matter what. If you have a TT car, you would have to do this anyways. But you have to cut off the inside end of it here, okay? And you need this little bushing here. So I need to go ahead and do this, push this off. And the rest of that, I'm just gonna keep just to keep, because maybe I need it for spare parts or something else. Now I'm glad I kept that for this reason. As you need this little piece here, this little rubber stopper, and little blue plastic piece inside. What you're going to do is you're going to slide it on this rail here and put it on, and then it has this little metal set screw here in the back, if you can see this here, right there. And this is what holds it in. So I'm gonna actually mark this with a black marker. I'm not sure if that's the right length or not, or where it needs to be. I'm assuming it is. and put this on. So this is from Powerhouse Racing. I'm gonna check it and make sure the length's right here. The only thing I did notice is, so the anvil on the factory one is larger, this is smaller, and it still doesn't quite fit this intake manifold. So I might have to drill out the actual throttle slightly. So that anvil doesn't perfectly fit inside of there. So I'm gonna take this throttle body off and double check it here, but from what I can tell right now, it doesn't seem to fit perfect. Now again, you have to rob a couple things. So there is a rubber isolator that you need to rob off your factory cable, and you need to rob off this metal plate. I was gonna paint this, but it's just putting it up there, it's gonna get banged around anyways, and you can't see it. Literally, it's so tucked up under there, I just literally don't care enough. It's going to rust, that's how it comes from the factory, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. But one thing you do have to do is you have to take off this little stop. Now this stop is technically should be at the right length per your measurements. I gave them my measurements, so hopefully I did it right, because if not, this is gonna really suck. I'm probably gonna be pretty upset if I got the measurements wrong. It looks like the sheathing is right, so far that looks good. So if this is good, then we should be okay. The only thing I have to do is take this off. It takes a 1.5 millimeter driver here, and just takes off. But no, before you do, I labeled it there with a bunch of black marker, letting it dry. I'm gonna take that off, and then I have to slip this on, facing this way, so you slip it in this way, and then put this back on, put it up through, and adjust accordingly. Now they give you a little bit extra, so if I do need to slide it back or slide it forward, obviously sliding forward is easy. Sliding it back, they do give you a little bit extra just to be safe. So hopefully I have enough, and if it is, I'll give you guys the exact measurements I use for this, and most likely Powerhouse Racing will put this up on their website, so you can just click and buy and go. This is what it will look like when it's all installed then. So the measurement I had was, I'm glad I thought I was a little long, I was actually a little shorter. So I actually had to use the top one. There's 2 points here that you can use. You can see there's a bottom and then there's a top for the throttle cable there. I ended up having using the top. I'm not sure if that matters or not, but I can tell you this throttle blade, so I've driven, I'm not sure if it's the cable itself or if it's the throttle. My buddy Tony with Stan Stagger Media, I love his car, but his throttle, like it is so heavy. I'm not sure if it's the RMM throttle or what it is, or if it's the cable itself. It takes so much effort to press down the gas pedal, and that's why I was fearful when doing this. Like, I kind of just assumed that, like, hey, when I got this done, this is just gonna have a heavy pedal and I'm just gonna have to deal with it. Not the case. It feels just like stock. Like, there's literally tested it before I did it. Now I'll have to get a car side by side here, so when like Colton or Tony comes by and like, so we can do a comparison, but it sure as hell feels close to stock. It does not feel heavy, takes very little minimal effort, and it works really well. Again, at the end of this video here, guys, I'm gonna list off all the parts here, so we're getting close to that. So if you guys stick to the end, I'm gonna do a rundown list, or you can skip to it. This video is getting long, so I understand it. I just wanted to show you guys the fit and finish here. So again, I used the top one. Now I did have to drill out the throttle there to fit that a little bit. So the actual hole here, I actually took a 1/4 inch drill bit and just rounded out that hole just ever so slightly. Now obviously this is aftermarket, so every cable design, everything you do, every throttle is going to be different, so you got to play with it a little bit, especially for the cost of these things. It is really hard to beat. Again, I just want to give you an overall look, and another thing I like with this is the fact that this piece here bolts on and it's slotted. So thankfully for that, it allows you to move side to side, or up and down and side to side, to get it perfect. The one thing I will say with this cable, I have some slack. All right, which is good. I want it to be nice and straight. I can have it like really taut, but the engine rocket, I didn't want that. I will say I'll probably add an extra inch to the length I'm gonna give you guys here. You can see I'm at like maxing it out here. I'll probably give you an extra inch so it sits just dead center, and that will be a perfect length for you guys then. And I think that's about it. So we got to go over the part number for the AC Delco GM throttle here. So I think that's it, guys. So this is it. That's how it looks. The only other thing I can think of is starting it up and see how she sounds, but I don't have any intercooler piping. Again, that's going to be for another video. I just wanted to show you guys how to install this. So let's wrap this up and move on to the last part. All right, guys, I'm going to pull the car out here. We got Sean GSX over here, my drinking buddy. Look at this. Cheers to the Keystone. So everything's up and running now. Obviously, we do not have, I got my IEC sensor plugged in over here, but everything's up and running right now. The only thing I'll probably have to do, guys, I'll have to crack open the throttle. It does have a throttle screw right there. I don't want to get my finger anywhere near that belt, so there's a throttle screw there. I'm glad I have this Powerhouse Racing cable. Works perfect. Everything seems okay. I'm actually logging right now. Go inside the car here. Currently logging, getting everything ready for John Kerr to send over to him. So yeah, send this over to him and it should be good. And I'm happy, guys. So now that the car's up and running, let's go through the list. You can see here, the target's 14, by the way. It's hitting 13.1. The car's running rich. So everything's gonna have to be adjusted here. Go on, give it a little throttle flip. A little bit more. You can see it starts to hesitate then, guys. Just let it go. It'll catch itself. It'll catch itself. Very happy with the way this came out, guys. Very, very happy. You see clearance wise, we're good here, good over here. I'm still checking the resolution issue we might have with the GM TPS sensor. I'm not sure if this is going to suffice. It seems like it's not perfect, so we'll see here. But when I'm checking voltage, the voltage differences, you know, between one time and another is quite different. So I need to make sure this is going to work perfectly. But everything else seems to be okay. Okay guys, so I got Sean behind the camera here. I'm just gonna kind of go over quick, you know, what you're going to need to get this up and running. So the first thing you're going to need, as we talked about there, is a GM TPS sensor. You're gonna need a real one. This is the AC Delco GM sensor, so don't buy like the off-brand. You obviously want to spend a little bit extra money, especially when it comes to your TPS. The actual part number for this from GM is 17123852. Again, I'll list that down below. Now the next thing up is the actual throttle cable. You're gonna want that to be 24.5 inches long. Actually, make it 25 inches to be safe. So we'll say 25 inches long for that, for the sleeve. And then for the cable itself, you want that to be 37 inches. So 25 inches and 37 inches for the sleeve and cable from Powerhouse Racing. When you guys order it from them, that's what you want for the length for that. You're gonna also want to order a blow-off valve flange for your car. You're gonna need a new one for the inner core piping. You're gonna need an 1/8 inch NPT for the new IAT sensor you're gonna wanna put into it. Oil dipstick location. If you come over here, this isn't going to be ideal, but you're gonna have to make a little bracket. Again, if you can see down there, guys, there's just a little bracket. It's nothing special. I'll try to get my phone a little bit better. It's hard to see there. You see, you make a little, it's just literally gotta make a little 90-degree bracket. You place it there if you'd like or whatever you want, but that does not come with the kit, so you're gonna have to make a little bracket. Basic tools, very basic tools is all you need to make that. I literally used a hammer and my vise and bend it over. You don't even need a vise, you got vise grips. Take a piece, bend it down on a piece of concrete or whatever, and make your bracket. Turn that light back off here. Wiring connector for the GM TPS sensor. You're gonna need a GM style connector, which is a 3-wire connector. Again, I'll list that connector down below. And then you're also gonna need 3 wires, and then you're gonna have to cut off your old factory TPS sensor and then wire it in, which I showed you earlier. So I can show you the wires you need and everything else, all for that down below. You're gonna need a Deutsch connector 3-wire again. I'll list that down below. The only other thing I can think of that you would need, that is pretty much it. For modifying wise, that's pretty much all you guys will need. Everything else, you know, if it comes to orb fitting, if you guys do that route, that's kind of on you. That's, a lot of people aren't gonna do that. You know, most people have their regulators off to the side. You know, obviously with my car here, we can see here, if you look, it's in the back, which I talked about earlier. Yours is most likely gonna be mounted to the body. So you can see the little green guy there in the very back. And yours is most likely going to be mounted up to the body here or over here in the strut tower. And when that happens, you guys most likely have a standard like Aeromotive, a Red Horse fitting, or a regulator. And with those, they have an actual NPT fitting spot for it that you can put your sensor in. So you won't have to do what I had to with that crazy setup in the center drain. Besides that, guys, that's pretty much it. Again, all the parts listed down below. If there's anything I missed, I will make sure I list it down below so you can just click, go, buy. Especially for the actual manifold again. That's from MCC Loyalty. It's a great manifold. Fit and finish is very nice. I will be getting dyno results soon. I'll show you guys the difference. You're probably gonna lose a little bit of mid-range, but the top range will be a lot better. Plus, it just looks better. So guys, thank you again very much for tuning in today. I know this was a long video. I am sorry for that, but I wanted to be as detailed as possible, kind of talk you guys through it, what I found out as I went through the way. That's why you notice different shirts, different hats as I went through this. My beard's gotten longer since I started this, but I kind of wanted to go through this step by step with you guys. So again, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.